I remember the first time ever looking back in the wake of my ship and seeing all those, the whiteness and the foam. I said, that's white because it all consists of bubbles. I said, how many bubbles am I looking at? And I was fine, I'm looking at fantastic numbers of bubbles. It comes in this way. Look at all this whiteness, all those bubbles. Beautiful, beautiful bubbles, every one of them. I said, now, I've been taught in school, in order to be able to design, because a bubble is a sphere, you have to use pi.
Buckminster Fuller was the last of the American eccentric geniuses, a messianic, even slightly odd figure who roamed the world in his bow tie giving speeches to students that inevitably went on for at least 5 hours. Foster jumped at the chance to work with Fuller, and the two began a conversation that never stopped until the day that Fuller died. Fuller's big idea was to do more with less, to make the strongest structures using the least amount of resources. He was an engineer, an architect, an ecologist who defied any label. In 1951, he coined the phrase "Spaceship Earth," the very image of humanity floating on a fragile vessel lost in the middle of space.
I remember flying him in a helicopter to the Sainsbury Centre at the University of East Anglia. And then we spent really quite a long time walking around the building, going back into the building, through the spaces, talking about it. And when he came back into the restaurant, he drew attention to the way that the sun had moved, the shadows had changed, and then he turned around to me and said, "How much does your building weigh, Norman?" And of course, I didn't know the answer.
How much does your building weigh? And even Norman was stunned into silence. But being Norman, a week later, he had the answer: 5,328 tons, most of which was lost in the invisible concrete substructure.
In the course of finding out how much the building weighed, of course, I realized the disproportionate amount of weight in the least attractive part of the building. It was an interesting voyage of discovery. So in a way, Bucky was always provoking himself, challenging himself, and challenging everybody around him.
Some people would see Fuller as an impossible dreamer, with wild ideas about covering Manhattan with a dome. On one level, Norman seems so different. He's an architect who seems to be the personification of the organized and the ordered. And yet it's clear that Fuller made a real mark on Norman. And I think the difference is that when Norman talks about covering a city with a dome, you believe he could do it.